Okay, so welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to show you how to make a subscribe animation like this. But first off, actually, why not listen to what that says and click the subscribe button down below. Okay, so let's get into this. So first off, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up a YouTube video, preferably going to be yours, but it doesn't have to be. And then you want to think about what you normally wear. So if you're like me, I'll normally wear a darker top. And so you've got to think when this lower third pops up, then if it's really dark, you're probably not going to see it as well as if it's light like this. So if you want to change it into light mode, what you do is you go into your settings and then appearance up here and select light. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to try and size this down a bit. We're looking at this area here. We're going to bring this in quite close, and that's good for me. And then we're going to do Command-Shift-4, which is going to let us select where we screenshot, and then we're just going to grab this. And now we're going to do the same once we've clicked subscribe. And the same with notifications. Okay, so now we're going to open up Keynote, and we're just going to make a new document. We're going to go basic white, and now what we're going to do is get rid of all of these, and now we've got nothing selected. So we're going to go to color fill and click no fill. This is just so that it's transparent when we export it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our screenshots. Okay, so let's just put them up here for now, except for this one, which we're going to bring down, and we're going to enlarge in it. Now we're not actually going to use this. This is going to be more of a guide. We're going to go into shapes, a rounded square, because personally I think it looks a bit better rounded. If you want it to just kind of be a solid edge like this screenshot, then go ahead and do that. But this is just how I prefer it. And then we're gonna, for now, add a border of a line, and let's make it a nice bright green. This is just so that we can get that kind of line from it. And yep, that's about the same size. So we're gonna bring it down here and then take off this border. For me, I think these are a bit too rounded. So there we go, that's good for us. And now we're going to want to get a circle and just put this over here. We're going to hold shift while doing this. And again, we're going to do it no fill, but with a line border. And so we can get this just as we want it. Great, so that's our circle. And now we're just going to pull this into the middle of here. But we're going to line it up a bit better. There we go. And then no border, color fill. This doesn't actually matter what color it is for now, because we're going to change this. And now the next step is going to be our subscribe button. Again, a rounded square. I'm going to bring this to here and drag it over. You basically just want to line this up to however this square behind it looks. That's good for me. We're going to make it red. But that's not quite the right red. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this button here, which will open up our color palette, and click the picker. And there we go, that is our replica of this red. We're going to add text, and we're just going to double click on it to let us type, and we're going to put in all capitals, subscribe. And now we can see the font is quite similar, so I don't think this is necessarily going to be an issue, because people aren't really looking at the font in great detail, but we are going to select this and make it quite a bit bigger. There we go, that is our subscribe button. We want this to be aligned with our circle on the edge. And what you can do if you're trying to get this to perfectly match this is if you hold Command R, and then you can just bring these over. And now we can see that mine wasn't aligned right, but now it is. And we can do that for all of these to just make sure we're getting it as close to the original as possible. And there we go. And now we're going to put in the channel name. For me, I'm not going to put in the amount of subscribers. It just means that as you grow and as you go forward, you're going to have to keep updating this. But if you only have the channel name, then unless you change your name or your icon, this doesn't need to change. So we're just going to add text, and we're going to drag it over here. We're going to align it to the left and make the text black. Now we're going to select it to start typing and type in our name. Okay, so now we've got this, and we can tell that the text is nowhere near big enough. Okay, so that's pretty much right. So we're gonna add a medium to it, and then that is about the size we want. But because we're not gonna have the subscribers under it, we're gonna make it a little bit bigger. Okay, that's good for us. So now we're just gonna bring this down and we're gonna align it up. Now we're just gonna go off the first letter because our size is different. So we're just gonna align it to the center and let's make it a bit bigger. That's pretty much our first part of the subscribe animation. Now what we're just going to do is we're going to get our logo image that we used for this, and we're going to overlay it. Okay, so now we're going to bring in this picture. We're going to size it down, and to try and make it as good as possible, let's turn down the opacity, zoom in using Command Shift and the full stop key. And we're just going to align these faces up. Now that is pretty much where we want it. Now let's just bring it down into here and align it. So that would be how we want it. Bring the opacity all the way up. Now we're just going to open the object list. Yours may be aligned differently. This is pretty much the very basic setup of Keynote. I've not customized this one, but I've just added that object list. And now what we're going to do is we're going to, while selecting this picture, we're going to select the circle behind it. And then we're going to go up into Format, Image, Mask with Selection. Now we're just going to click Done. And as you can see, this is pretty much perfect. After looking at this, I'm going to bring the size of the subscribe down a bit and the size of our channel name down. Now, this is pretty much exactly how we want it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this slide and we're going to replace this image with our subscribed. And now in YouTube, these don't actually move at all. It's just a sudden change, which makes it easier for us. We don't need to animate it to move. It will just move on to this next slide. So now I'm going to change these guides to match the subscribed box and then move this over. I'm going to add a D. And then I'm going to go into style and change this box color using the color picker to this gray and go into text and do the same with this darker gray because this isn't quite black. So now that is our subscribed box. And now for this, I'm actually going to copy and paste this and then edit mask. I'm going to bring this all the way down to here. Click done. Now I'm going to add a line down the center of this. And here we go. And actually this has shown us that this whole box isn't as white as we thought. So what we're going to do, we're going to click on the main rounded rectangle, style, and we're going to click on this, then our color picker, and we're going to select that, and there we go. And then we're going to go into our other slide and do the same. And there we go. So this is our subscribed one. And now, as you can guess, the only thing left is to do the notifications. So we're going to edit mask. For this one, we don't really need to change where it's positioned because quite simply, it's in the same place as our last bell. So we're just going to replace the last bell with this one. We're going to bring it to the top and just lay it over. I'd recommend turning down the opacity to see how well it's changed, and actually we can see that this has moved. We're just going to move it down with our arrow keys so that that is as close as we're going to get it. And now we're going to zoom in again by using Command Shift and the full stop key, and we're just going to try and get this that little bit more precise. And there we go, that's kind of it. So now you can see the only difference, apart from a slight change when we're zoomed in, the only difference is the difference in the bell. So now we can delete our screenshots. And now if we watch this through, you'll just see it changes between them. And now we're going to take off all our guides You can also do this by going into the toolbar, and again, this is something I need to add into it, and then move in the hide guides. So now when we go into here with all the guides, click hide guides, it just doesn't look at them now. So now we're going to add these to a group. Again, I need to add this to my toolbar, and then click group. And this is our group 1. This basically means that we can animate them all together instead of trying to line them up separately. We're going to then do this again and again. So now these are all grouped together. Now, we're going to start looking at the animation. So we're just going to go into animate. Build order, because I want to see and I want you to see what I'm doing. So we're going to go into our build order. We're going to select this and add a build in. For this, we're just going to make it move in because we want to just make it slide in, and we're going to do it from bottom to top. We're going to take off the bounce. Now, if we preview this, you can see that this just kind of moves in. And now I don't think it's quite enough for it to move in and then just turn into the next one. So then we're going to add a mouse. So you could do this where it's a cursor like this and then it turns to the hand, but I'm just going to do it as a hand because I don't think it's something that people mind. So I'm just going to do Apple cursor, Apple hand cursor. And there we go. And so let's just save this image. Now I would do an instant alpha on the outside. I think it actually works a bit better in preview. So we're just going to open markup, go on the magic selector and delete our background. And there we go. So now we're going to delete this and bring in our new one. Now obviously this is way too big, so let's size it down. And that's about what we want it, but let's make it a bit bigger. So now what I'm actually going to do, because I don't want this to just appear, so I'm going to put a square here. And I'm going to zoom in and try and get this just to the bottom. I'm going to do the last bit with a nudge. There we go. Format it so it's the same color. So we're just going to use the color picker. And now you can't see it's there. But the issue with this is that if I play it, now that's going to be just sat there. So we need to animate this square. Okay, so we're going to animate it to build in and just appear. So that is going to be after build 1. So it's going to come in and appear. And we're going to want to do the same appear. And then for this, we're going to do after build 2. So it will appear. And now you can't really see that they've just both appeared, but they have. And now on here, I want to add an action to move. And I want it to come up to here onto our subscribe button. But I think it looks a bit better with a bit of a different motion. So it will appear and kind of sweep around and land on it. And so now when this is done, I want to add another action, which is just to pulse. So it does 1 pulse. And we're just going to try and get our scale to what we like. So we want this to look like a click. That lasted a bit too long for me. So we're going to bring this pretty much all the way down. And that was too fast. So this is kind of just getting the right feel of how this looks. I think maybe 3 could be what we want. There we go. And that is it for this page. So now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this, except we don't want these animations on it. So we just want it to be here. And we want to line it up to here. So this may be a really simple way of doing it, but I'm just going to put my fingernail on the bottom corner. So now when I line this up and then preview it, this should end up going to where that ends. So that is a bit different. So we're going to move this up and a bit to the side. So we're actually going to click to move. zoom in, and yeah, we can see this needs to move up. So again, I'm going to put my finger underneath this, select the one we want. This time I'm putting my finger on the bottom black line. And now I'm just going to move this up and a bit to the side. Preview it again. And I'd say that's pretty good. So I'm going to click here to show where it's going. And yeah, they're in line. So now if we copy this and paste it over here, this is now in the exact same place, so that it is only that subscribe button that's moving. And now we just want to animate it to move to the side and do the same kind of thing on the notification bell. We're going to select it, animate action, because we don't need it to appear because it's already here. Move it and just line this up, and then we're going to get our same pulse from here. So we've done 0.3 seconds, 1 pulse, and 121%. We want these to look consistent. So now we're going to select it up here, add an action to pulse, 0.3, 1 pulse, and 121%. And now this comes after. So now once it's come onto this, it just moves and clicks. And now we're going to do the same thing again. And we're going to put our finger on here, paste it in, except we're going to remove these. And let's see where it goes to. We're still quite zoomed in. I'm going to just do it a little bit more and put my finger underneath the black bit of it. And now that should be about right. So let's just see if it moves behind it. There was a bit of difference. Yeah. We can just move this animation. So now it goes to there and pulses. And now this one, we want to copy into here and paste into here. Remember to delete these once they're done. So what we want to do is, first off, we're going to copy this rectangle and paste it in. I'm going to add a border to this one just for now, just so I can see where I'm actually putting this. And now on here, I want to animate it, add an action to move, and just move it into here. But obviously we liked it where it had a bit of a curve to it. Just be careful to try and not make this go out of frame. So that does a little bit. So we're just going to move this up. That still does a bit, so we're going to move it up here. And there we go. So now I'm actually going to drag this along a bit because it kind of goes in on the corner and doesn't really look that great because you can see that it's coming to a corner. Format, let's take off the border, preview. There we go. Now this kind of looks like it's tucking in behind. And now on both of these, I'm going to add a build out to disappear. This is just so that it doesn't do anything fancy and just disappears. And then both of these are going to come after here. Except this one I'm going to do with build 3, so they go at the same time. And now all we need to do is get this move in. So we did bottom to top for 1 second. So now we're going to add an effect to the group, a build out, move out, top to bottom, 1 second, no bounce. So we're just going to preview that. Let's zoom out a bit so we can see it a bit better. And that's good. So now let's move it here after build 4. So there we go. So you want to make sure that the first action in all of these happens after the transitions. So let's make sure, there we go. So this one's on click, but we want this to be after transition. And now there have been a few tweaks made to this just because I recorded it where I watched it back a few times and basically tried to get the timings to what I thought were a bit better. So if we go through here, this movement, this is one of the things that changed. Instead of 1 second, I changed it to 1.25. Basically just because it felt like it was quite a quick movement, so we thought we'd slow it down a bit. We've actually added a bit of an arc to here, just to make it look a bit more of an arc instead of just a solid straight turn to it, I guess. So it was about here, and we've basically just grabbed the center and pulled it down a bit. so that it's now like this instead of just a solid moving across. And then the other thing that we've changed is we've changed this to 1.25 just to basically make it the same as the first slide. Now we're just going to watch this through. Don't be worried if it doesn't automatically play the next one. This is because we're watching it in here, and so we'll have to click them. I'll try and click them to about the time that it would change it, so basically as soon as the last animation's over. So let's quickly look at this. Okay, so that's basically what it looks like. So now we're going to look at exporting it. So we're going to go File, Export to, and Movie. Self-playing, we're going to change this to 0 instead of 5 seconds, and 0 again. This is basically so after the slide there's not a delay, and after each build there's not a delay. We haven't set different builds, but we don't want there to be a delay in between slides. Now resolution, we're going to set this to custom. So 1920 by 1080. This is your normal 1080p resolution. Now your frame rate, I do most of my videos in 25 frames per second because I'm in the UK. So we're going to put ours up to 50. And then our compression type, we want it to be Apple ProRes 444 so we can get them transparent backgrounds. And then click next. I'm going to save this to my desktop, and there we go. So now when I click to play it, you can see it just appears, clicks it, and I would think that was a pretty good subscribe animation. If you don't want to make this all, but you just kind of want to change different things, maybe you're finding it really hard to do it, which, let's be real, it is fairly complicated. You get used to it the more you do it, but for the first time doing it, you're probably just going to be thinking, I'm not doing this right, something's wrong, that kind of thing. But we get that. That is normal for this kind of thing because it means that you're learning something new. But if you don't want to do it, I'll add this Keynote file into the Discord server. So make sure to join that. And then what you can do is you can just change the name and change this image behind here. So that's how you make a subscribe animation in Keynote. Make sure to try this out and let me know in the comments how you get on with it. Also join the Discord and send us a link to your video and we'll check it out and give you a bit of feedback on it. So as animation has told you already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an upload, and I'll see you in the next video.